Hello everyone, welcome to my Car Review 2025 official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The funky cat is no longer funky. Or, for that matter, a cat. GWM's oddly named, and even more oddly styled, electric hatchback has been rebranded with the aim of making it the butt of fewer sniggers. It's now called the Ora 03, a name that will fit better when GWM launches the larger Ora 07 four-door saloon later this year. GWM has also reshuffled the range, tweaked the prices, added a sportier GT model and made a few changes under the skin. All this is an attempt to bolster the Ora 03's image in the UK after it launched to fairly lackluster reviews a couple of years ago. The first thing to remember about this car is that there are people who will love it and want to buy it irrespective of how good it actually is. With the exception of the electric Fiat 500 and Mini, whose dinner the Ora 03 is clearly after, there isn't really much like this on the market. This car is all about vibes. Which is why I can be highly cynical about the virtual fish that pop up on the touchscreen when you open the door, or the cutesy styling, or the overtly retro interior that's available in a series of violent hues. But this is catnip to the sort of people who buy and love cars such as this. For them, the Ora 03 is perfectly pitched. The big news, actually, is not the arrival of the GT version tested here, but the new Pure model, which loses some equipment to achieve a starting price of £24,995. That's a whopping discount over the £31,995 you used to have to pay for the old Pure Plus version, but there's a catch, which is that the Pure now has a much smaller battery of 45 kWh and an official range of 193 miles. All of which puts it within touching distance of, though still more expensive than, the entry-level Citroën C3 and Renault 5. To upgrade the battery to the 59 kWh version you got before will set you back a further £4,000, for which you also get a bit of extra kit, heated front seats, front parking sensors and electric memory seats, for example. Charging speeds are pretty sluggish, however. The Pure will take 45 minutes to get from 10 to 80%, charging at only 64 kWh. The Pro isn't much better, it's 67 kWh charging speed, meaning it takes 48 minutes to achieve the same level of charge. You still don't get a heat pump even with the Pro, though, for that, you must pay more again for the GT, which is a not inconsiderable £32,995. Yet it is remarkably well equipped for that money. You also get a panoramic sunroof, front seats that'll massage you and cool your posterior, as well as a sporty bodykit. That's about it, though. If you're excited by the idea of a bit of extra power befitting a GT badge, don't be. The GT is little more than a looks and equipment package. Even the suspension is the same as the standard car. In fact, the only concession to performance is the inclusion, rather bizarrely, of launch control as standard. With only 168 brake horsepower, bhp, that feels like overkill, especially given the Ora 03's 1.9-ton curb weight. 0 to 62 miles per hour comes up in 8.3 seconds, not slow, then, but not exactly rip-snorting. For context, an Milligram 4 Trophy has 33 brake horsepower more, gets to 62 miles per hour half a second quicker, costs £500 less and has 2 years more warranty. Its proportions make the Ora 03 look tiddly in isolation, but it is much larger than you might expect. It's only 50 mm shorter than the Milligram or, for that matter, a Volkswagen Golf. Yet the boot is absolutely tiny, only 228 litres, less than in a Kia Picanto. Thankfully, there's more space in the rear seats, which makes them more hospitable to family life, as long as you're travelling light. In the front, it's a more edifying story. The GT has a natty combination of black and dark grey fabrics with red accents on the seats, doors, dash and steering wheel, all of which provides a pleasant ambience. There are some high-quality materials, too, many of which are tactile, although the effect is spoiled by the fact there are also some cheap-feeling plastics, most notably the mini-like toggle switches, which are particularly flimsy. The dash top sweeps down, meaning that the two screens that constitute the infotainment system and the virtual instrument binnacle sit low. They're small, too, although that isn't such a bad thing as they don't dominate. The downside, of course, is that there are barely any buttons. Almost every major function is packed into the relatively small touchscreen, which means you have to take your eyes off the road and row through the labyrinth of menus, cursing occasionally at the system's slow, glitchy responses, to find the function you need. This, inevitably, invites opprobrium from the driver monitoring system, a sinister-looking pod that watches you from the windscreen pillar and chides you when you take your eyes off the road. Which of course you are forced to do because you can't feel your way around the controls by touch alone. Thankfully, one of the areas GWM has worked on is the other driver assistance systems. Previously, these were almost comically nannying, chiding you every few seconds for straying from your lane, going too fast or fiddling with the touchscreen, even when you weren't doing any of those. You still get the occasional bing or bong from these systems now, though far fewer than before. In fact, I'd go as far as to say the Ora 03 is now one of the less nagging modern cars, so far has the sensitivity of these systems been dialed back. As for the car itself, it's not unpleasant to nip around in. There's a decent amount of poke from the motor. And the suspension generally does a pretty good job of soaking up bumps, although it starts to run out of ideas when faced with truly churned-up surfaces. At higher speeds, the Ora 03 GT feels about the same, although the copious amount of tire noise means you won't enjoy longer motorway trips. It handles smartly enough, too. Sure, it's no Mini, but there's enough pep in the steering and grip from the front tires to ensure the Ora 03 changes direction swiftly. Some more steering feel would be nice. Switching to sport mode only adds weighting, so much so that it's enough to make you prefer the normal setting, but on the whole it's reasonably snappy. Unfortunately, reasonably snappy isn't enough to overcome the shortcomings. It's still too expensive for what it is. The fact that it's pricier than the Renault 5, a car whose retro charm it attempts to emulate, proves that. Granted, it's impossible to escape the fact that the Ora 03 has been imbued with a lot of fun, while your money buys an awful lot of equipment in this top-flight variant. In a nutshell, there's too much that simply doesn't measure up to better rivals that cost less. The fact this GT model's looks are writing checks its motor can't cash simply rubs salt into the wound. The Ora 03 is better now it's no longer the funky cat. But it still isn't really good enough. It has less power and equipment than the Ora, yet the top-spec EC3 costs less than the entry-level Ora 03. It's slightly less spacious inside, but there's more boot space, the interior feels more special and the electronics are more consistent. Oh, and this also happens to be one of the finest riding small cars. The 5 can't quite match the Ora 03 on pace or equipment, but it beats it on range, and costs far less. Choosing the Ora over the 5 feels like choosing a picture of a cooling glass of lemonade instead of the real thing. There's a reason the 5 is the European Car of the Year. Paying £4,000 extra for a facsimile feels like the antithesis of a no-brainer. Want an even stronger example of the Ora 03's high price? Milligram will sell you a 4 with more, 30-odd horsepower, almost 90 miles of range and 2 years of warranty, for £500 less than the Ora 03 GT. It's much roomier inside, too. Granted, this version of the 4 again doesn't have quite as much equipment, but on every other count it looks far better value. So what do you guys think about this update? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my videos, please press like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time.